मैं जहां तुमको बुलाता हूं वहां तक आओ, मेरी नजरों से गुजर कर दिलो जान तक आओ। फिर ये देखो कि जमाने की हवा है कैसी, साथ मेरा मेरे फिरदौस जवां तक आओ। हौसला हो तो उड़ो, हौसला हो तो उड़ो मेरे तसव्वुर की तरह, हौसला हो तो उड़ो मेरे तसव्वुर की तरह, मेरी तख्लीक के गुलजार जिना तक आओ। That was Ali Sardar Jafri Saab, few lines. Few more from Atal Bihari Vajpayee Saab, because he was never recognized as a poet, but certainly I love him as a poet. His poetry is so simple and so piercing. पृथ्वी लाखों वर्ष पुरानी, पृथ्वी लाखों वर्ष पुरानी, जीवन एक अनंत कहानी। पृथ्वी लाखों वर्ष पुरानी, जीवन एक अनंत कहानी, पर तन की अपनी सीमाएं हैं। यद्यपि 100 शर्दों की वाणी, पर तन की अपनी सीमाएं हैं। यद्यपि 100 शर्दों की वाणी, इतना काफी है अंतिम दस्तक पर खुद दरवाजा खोले। जन्म मरण अवृत फेरा, जीवन बंजारों का डेरा। जन्म मरण अवृत फेरा, जीवन बंजारों का डेरा। आज यहां कल कहां कूच है, कौन जानता किधर सवेरा। अंधियारा आकाश असीमित, अंधियारा आकाश असीमित, प्राणों के पंखों को तोले, अपने ही मन से कुछ बोले। Good evening and welcome to Sheetalath Conversation, Sunday evening, 7 p.m. IST show. This is your host speaking from the threshold of Sheetalath Conversations. You are witnessing our 110th Renaissance, historic Renaissance historic show. So I'm very pleased that we are having this rendezvous again on this Sunday. We are at the crossroads and we are on the edge of the 2 years, 2024 and 2025. We are between the two. We are on the border, interfacing towards the 2025 year. So I hope all of you are doing very well, and I hope that your future year will be very, lucky and very, it will be very harmonious, congenial. You'll take wonderful things, like you will enjoy your music of life, shades of life, color, and all kinds of activities, all kinds of rejoicements you really intend to. Year has passed by, and we can take some good memories from this year and pass on to the another year. That's how it is. A cyclic, fashion. These seasons come and go. Spring and then then the summer and the autumn and the winter. Winter is like a womb, I suppose. You are born in winter, and the spring comes. Year is born, another year is born, and we again are refreshing. That's how the cyclic process goes. It is all the prototype of nature. It's like the nature. Everything which is manifested from nature is a prototype of nature. That's what I visualize and I feel. So, with great tribute to that nature and with a very great wishes for a wonderful year ahead, I certainly feel that we had some very, very wonderful conversations this year with the people of great eminence and the public figures, brilliant minds, scholars, and some of them are really, really worth witnessing and watching. You can watch our archival, videos at the YouTube channel, Sheetalath Conversations YouTube channel. And this is a journey which is going on. And I hope you all are doing wonderfully this Sunday. And before I proceed further, I would like to ask one thing. Do you know that which are the most surviving ancient manuscripts of the country? Which should be presented in the annals of the World Heritage? They belong to, I must tell you very, effectively, that they belong to Kashmir. So today's our topic and conversation will revolve something around our ancient manuscripts from Kashmir. which have added to the World Heritage. And certainly, we are going to talk about these precious ancient manuscripts of Kashmir, which is a glorious addition to the World Heritage. It will be an amazing, objective, and scholarly, refreshing visit to the treasure trove of the world's earliest manuscripts. Uh, Atharveda will be talking about. Gilgit manuscripts we'll be talking about. Raj Tarangani, we all know about. There are a lot many hue and cry, lot many talk, lot many conversation of Raj Tarangani, whether we discuss Raj Tarangani original or we discuss its further supplements or the offshoots, we don't know. But yes, Raj Tarangani is something which is amazing. It is subject to challenge also. There are some historians who challenge it, but yet the contemporaries of Kalhana has always spoken very high of Kalhana, that he was very authentic and very to the point. He never, tried to take unnecessary flights while writing. And we are also going to talk about Lok Prakash of Shamendra. And this is a passage we are going to move from probably 9th to 11th and then down to the 5th and 6th, now 9th to 12th century before Christ era, and then to 5th and 6th century after Christ, after death, AD, and then certainly to the 11th century and then the 12th century. So these are the pinnacles of, as far as these are the repositories of the great knowledge, wisdom, culture, art, literature, philosophy, archaeology, astrology, and astronomy. So certainly, we will be talking about from a very fresher, very, very brilliant, and very deeper into it. We'll go diverge into its very deeper layers, and certainly try to find out and bring out something fresh, something objective, in a very, very entirely different perspective, a different scholarly perspective. Because today we have with us a very, very eminent scholar, Dr. S.N. Pandita Saab, and he has been on to Shitalath Conversations twice before, and his shows are of much demand. They are valued very much because of his authenticity in his research, and he puts in heart and blood into those researches. And his research is something which I really personally I'm very admiring always. Yes, certainly this is a great opportunity to have a face-to-face conversation with him, especially on these great chronicles, manuscripts of ancient Kashmir, ancient India. So he's a widely traveled writer, researcher, author, a visiting scholar who has presented research papers on Kashmir's heritage, culture, literature, language in the most prestigious national and international universities and venues. Dr. Surendranath Pandita is the author of more than 9 books, well-known books of the history of collaboration of scholarship by Western and Kashmiri scholars in the 19th and 20th century, and has scripted and co-directed several documentaries and heritage films. He's a multifaceted personality who has been teaching our civil servants, and he has been into the higher teaching in the faculty in the higher technical education and the banking and the corporate corporate affairs. So there are many, many things to be talked about, but today our subject matter is not Dr. Pandita. In fact, we are going to just have a conversation on him to talk about this great Gilgit script, Atharveda, and this Loka Prakasha and other things. But slightly, I'm impressed by his work, so I like to just explain you about some of his books. Western Indologist and Sanskrit Savants of Kashmir. That's a wonderful book, and he's an expert in that. I heard yesterday Dr. Tamiri somewhere has written that he is the only expert, especially on this subject. So, Travel Diaries of Civil Servant, Pushkarath Kaul Sahab, IAS. The most important, most fascinating for me, most romanticizing for me is The Oral Stain in Kashmir. I really want to read this book, but I'll have to purchase it. I don't know from where. Notes to the Discovery of Lalit Manuscript. This is something very objective. Monograph jointly written with Shivnath Handu Sahab. Note to the Discovery of Lalit Manuscripts. And a photo portrait of Kashmiri Pandits, co-authored by Ramesh Manvati Sahab. And A.W. Stratton, Indologist, His Journey to India and Footprints in Kashmir. Kashmir under Dogras, the great institution builders transition into peace, progress, and modernity. I was just telling you before 20th century, plenty of enormous literature have been written. Have I put it into the prelude of this promo of this conversation, and but most of it is lost to the ravages of time. To the it has been galloped and it's swallowed by the time. And then again, we have a ancient theory that the Shruti and Smriti, certain things will go into the oblivion because nature wants it. But then again, there's a human neglect, and then also the history of checkered history of Kashmir, especially the 500 years of the foreign rule, and Afghans and the Mughals and all people. Although Mughals were the connoisseurs of art and literature, but yet again, I don't know. Nobody has tried for the indigenous scriptures and chronicles and literature of Kashmir. So that whole credit goes to in the beginning of end of the 19th century, the Dogra rulers. They were the people who had a great battery of connoisseurs and the researchers, and they had a great wisdom and a will to just create and recreate this entire edifice of wisdom and knowledge which exists in Kashmir. So they were the people who were into the learning and the scholarship, and they were the great patrons of art, culture, literature. So a great revolution happened in that particular period of time, and the whole thing started working. These basically manuscripts have survived because of on the bridge bar, and because it can survive the cold weathers and others. I've heard that Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister of India, when this Gilgit manuscripts were found, he took it and shifted it to the, this National Archives of India and at New Delhi, and we have some of these scriptures also in the Pratap Singh Library in Jammu, and some of it is later portion has been bought somewhere into the Pakistan by a Western scholar. And I don't know, there's Oral Stain has also taken something. We'll be talking about all these aspects with Dr. S.N. Panta, and that's what I wanted to share with you. Dr. S.N. Panta is Surendranath Panta Sahab is a very respectable man. He's a very good friend of mine, and I respect him a lot. He's an elder brother, but he is also there are some common things between him and me, and the basic common things are all common to everyone. And he's a great Kashmiri. He's proud of his Kashmiri identity. So am I, and so are you all. And he's a proud Indian. So am I, and he is a proud humanist. So am I. Besides that, I think he has studied into the former named Prince of Wales, which is now GGM Science College. It is lost its glory, but I'm talking about those times in 70s and 80s. He might have been my senior by a few years, I don't know. And last but not least, he was he's a Sathu boy. So we are both inhabitants of Sathu, and Sathu is known for so many things. And we don't have today's topic is not all about Sathu. So with great warmth and great respect and reverence and affection, I welcome Dr. S.N. Panta to 110th Sheetalnath Conversation show. Dr. Saab, you are welcome to Sheetalnath Conversations 110th show.
Namaskar, Jugalji. Namaskar to your viewers.
Thank you very much. It's a great delight and your magnanimity that you found time to attend this 110th show. Your sound is a bit slightly. I need to come forward a bit. Yeah, probably yes. I don't know.
Is it all right now? Is it all right?
It is better if you move to the left side. Yeah, left side will be far better. Yeah.
Is it good?
Slightly better. Yes. Please.
Jugalji, thank you very much for your excellent introduction. That you are a poet of that eminence, and memory startled me. Then whatever you talked about me was unnecessary. The focus is on the subject of manuscripts rather than on me. I must also confess to the fact that research and knowledge has no end. There
That's
is
right.
no end to research. That I am a good researcher or anyone is not a good researcher, there are no yardsticks. The basic fact remains that human inquisitiveness must keep on drawing people to unearth the truth, which most of the time lies buried under the debris of distortion, hearsay, and untruth.
That is why
Today's
Shitala's conversations, I try my level best to bring people like you who
You
are very
see,
authentic in their research.
the
Yes.
chosen topic by you that we'll talk about some rare manuscripts of Kashmir. Let me give a brief perspective of the manuscript world, particularly that of India, and focused on Kashmir. Before I go specifically into each of the
Please,
manuscripts you
please, please,
wanted
sir.
to speak about. You see, manuscript we normally understand is a handwritten document. Anything written in hand worth a subject to be written about is a manuscript. But in
Yes.
today's world, if anybody even types something, he calls it a manuscript. It's a typescript.
Types.
You know, manuscript has become so general a term that we tend to say anything is a manuscript. Now, there are many things before printing had come, before typewriters had come. Everything was handwritten, and anything that's only handwritten is a manuscript. Now, coming to the manuscript history with respect to Kashmir, in my little knowledge, in my little awareness about the subject, this fascinating story has no beginning and no end. And the marvel of this story is that from whichever part of this long story you begin, it appears to be the beginning. And where you stop, because of your limited knowledge, you think the story has ended. But there
But it
is a
never ends
story before it, and there is always a story after it.
after it. That's true.
Coming to the manuscript awareness in Kashmir, all of us know that Kashmir passed through dark ages of couple of 100 years, 400, 500, 600 years of the Islamic
Six
era.
years.
And it was practically the age of darkness. The first sense of modernity, the first sense of, everything we see enlightened us. It only came when the Dogras arrived on the scene.
Yes.
The Kashmiris themselves were unaware about their manuscript treasures, even though for centuries they had been writing them. Most of the time, these manuscripts were hidden in thokurkuts and ferran pockets, and they were not seen or shown to anybody. But it was the Dogras, the emancipated Dogras, who opened the doors to this world. Now the question comes, why so much credit is being given to Dogras?
Yes.
Let me go a little behind. The only thing world knew about Kashmir till the fourth quarter of the 19th century was that they were simply aware about Kalana's Raj Tarangani. They did not know any of the treasures of Kashmir except Kalana's Raj Tarangani.
Because it was and even endorsed by sultans, and then Jonaraja and other people also had supported and supplemented it. Yeah.
But the world was not aware of it. Nobody knew Jonaraja, nobody knew sultans,
Srivara.
nobody knew Kalahan, nobody knew Raj Tarangani. Now
Yes,
what
that's true.
happened? What happened? The first European who ever came to Kashmir was Francois Bernier. in the 17th century during Shah Jahan's time.
Shah Jahan's
And
period.
he was a personal physician of Shah Jahan's son Dara Shikoh. Bernier, during his stay in Kashmir in the later half of the 17th century, 1670, 75, something about that time, he came across Malik Haidar Chadura's Persian Chronicle, Kashmir History. And he obtained a copy and realized that Chadura's history was essentially based on Kalhana's Rajtarangani. So this was the first introduction to the Westerners that Kashmir has an old history, and Bernier himself wrote histories of ancient kings of Kashmir in French, where he gives reference to Kalhana's Rajtarangani also. A century later, another French missionary, Typhon Thaler, also prepared a small history based on Bernier's account. But before his history was published, Gladwin published history of Kashmir, old Kashmir kings based on Aine Akbari.
Aine Akbari, oh.
Aine Akbari of Abul Fazl.
Abul
Now,
Fazl, yeah.
these were the earliest references that West became aware of Kashmir's ancient history. Now, after this, we know the great founder of the Asiatic Society, William Jones. When William Jones came to India, he had no idea where India is. In his map, there was no India and there was no Sanskrit. All William was aware about the Middle East, he was aware about Turkey,
China,
and was only interested in Persian literature. But once he landed in Calcutta as the judge of the Supreme Court, as a judge, he realized, if I have to dispense judgments which are fair enough, then I must know something about the laws of the people. And majority of them are Hindus. And Hindus had been writing in Sanskrit, in Devanagari. So this prompted Williams to study Sanskrit and came to the scriptures of India, based scriptures that were primarily books of law. Now, once he became aware of Sanskrit, William Jones put in his personal diary on top, on priority, one of the things he will do in India is write about the ancient history of Kashmir and its kings. But unfortunately, William Jones died very young at the age of 48 in 1794, and nothing happened, only the awareness that there is Kalhana's Rajtarangani waiting to be dealt with. The first Britisher who attempted to edit some parts of Kalhana's Rajtarangani was Thomas Coolbrooke. He got a corrupted Devanagari copy of it from some Pandits in Calcutta and produced a copy, but took 20 years to publish it. So Coolbrooke's partial Rajtarangani appeared only in 1825. 10 years later, another Britisher who was principal of the Calcutta Madrasa College, his name was Horace Hayman Wilson, H.H. Wilson. He took 3 Devanagari copies, corrupt copies from the Pandits at Calcutta, which contained only 6 cantos of Kalhana's Rajtarangani, and edited them in 1825. In 1835, 10 years later. But again, this Raj Tarangni was also based on corrupt copies.
Corrupted ones.
Corrupted. Of course, before these two people, Wilson and Coolbrook had attempted versions of Kalana's Raj Tarangni. William
Yes, yes, please.
Moorcraft, who traveled to Kashmir and Ladakh, also obtained a copy of the Raj Tarangni and produced a copy, though he did not publish. But even this copy had lot of corruptions. 5 years later, in 1840, another French, Anthony Troyer, he prepared a French translation, but all the materials essentially were the corrupt materials. Now the question arises, viewers will ask, what is meant by a corrupted copy? The original manuscript of Raj Tarangni, which must have been written by Kalana himself, is without doubt that it must have been written in Sharda script.
Sanskrit, but in Sharda.
Sanskrit in those times was written in Sharda script. There was no Devanagari in Kashmir.
There was no
Now,
Devanagari.
whatever transcript these earlier Western scholars got hold of it, they were the Devanagari transcripts of the Sharda original. But all these copies were only copies, they were not scholars. So they wrote it corruptly. The transcripts became corrupt.
Corrupted, yes, certainly.
So the Devanagari copies of Kalana's Raj Tarangni were not dependent. It went on till the great Indologist, unpassed person, who is a great master of manuscript collection, was the German George Buhler.
George Buhler, yeah. George
Whose
Buhler.
memorable visit in 1875 cleared the clouds that unless and until we trace the original manuscript of Kalana's Raj Tarangni, we will have to be only satisfied with the corrupt copies. Buhler was a German who wanted a career in India. He knew the wealth of manuscript in India.
Yes.
And he got his appointment as professor of philology and Sanskrit at Elphinstone College, Bombay. Now, during his tenure at Elphinstone College, he belonged to the Bombay Educational Department. And there the Educational Department assigned him the duties to collect manuscript in the neighborhood of Bombay state. It was Maharashtra, it was Gujarat, it was part of Madhya Pradesh and down south also. And he collected several hundred manuscripts, which he paid to Bombay Municipality, which he paid to Indian Imperial Library, and more than 500 he also gave to Berlin University, though under the permission of the British India government. Now, once the Britishers realized that there is such a wealth of manuscripts in India, Buhler was ordered to make survey of manuscripts in all private collections. And one of the assignment was to him to trace and discover manuscripts in Rajputana, Central India, and Kashmir. So with the orders of the government, Buhler came to Rajputana, he went to Central Asia and landed in Srinagar on August 11, 1875 to collect manuscripts from private sources. Fine. Before Buhler started his journey from Surat, he came to Ambala, he came to Lahore, then Delhi. He had an advisor in the name of Pandit Radhakrishnan at Lahore, who was an old Kashmiri and a very eminent scholar with lot of collections in his personal library. Radhakrishnan informed Buller the contacts you should meet in Srinagar in Kashmir, and also gave him an advice that you should recommend to Government of India that all private library of manuscripts anywhere should be catalogued. Till then, there was no catalogue of any private library in India.
Before that.
So much so, Radhakrishnan was also the person who gave a European access to his own personal library to catalogue it. There was another person, Vishwanath, who had lots of contacts and guided Buller in his mission to collect manuscripts in Kashmir. Before arrival, message was sent to Maharaja Ranbir Singh that he has come for this purpose and he needs to know the manuscript treasures of Kashmir. Maharaja Ranbir Singh assigned the job to his Chief Justice, Babu Nilambar Mukherjee, to prepare a list of manuscripts which are extant, which are available and existing in Kashmir. So Mukherjee prepared a list of 700 titles. And this was passed on to Buller on his arrival by the political agent. We never had residents those times. The
Those
political
times
agent
residents were not there,
was
yes.
Major Henderson. So Henderson gave the list of 700 manuscripts to Buller. Buller had a look, and next day he met both Mukherjee and Henderson. They were impressed, and he asked that copies of 70 must be procured for him out of these 700. Next day, all these details went to the Maharaja. He was so impressed on Buller's mission, he invited him to his court and entertained him personally and listened what all he wanted. Maharaja Ranbir Singh issued an order that every Pandit Buller wants to meet and seek information about manuscripts must come forward, and they cannot say no to him.
Oh.
And whatever Buller would desire from them, they should make it available to him.
Royal order. That must have been the royal order.
That was the royal order by Ranbir Singh given in favor of Buller. Buller identified 22 Kashmiri Pandits who were known to have the treasure stock of 700 titles. Out of this, Buller personally visited 6 or 7 households. From the rest, he only gathered the list what all they have. And after seeing this list, he asked for 160 of them. In the meantime, Maharaja also entertained Buller by taking him around the Pathshala and showed him his school and how the classes are concerned. Buller was impressed. Now, in all this, Buller knew that if I have to find something about Rajtarangni, the original manuscript, then I must get it. Buller was informed that the manuscript is with a gentleman named Keshav. Now, this Keshav was the grandson of Pandit Shopadhyay, the great Shaiva master of the 16th century, 16th or 17th century.
Okay.
But Buller faced a problem. Keshav was too old to go out, and his habits, by habit, he was not a person who will go and meet people. Rather, he would prefer anybody should come to my place, and then whatever he needs to know from me, I let him know.
Temperament.
So here was an exception that Buller was obliged to visit Keshav home. for searching the manuscript of Rajtarangi. This was a paper manuscript written in very scurvy hand, and if one was not familiar with good knowledge of Sharda script, it was difficult for an average Pandit to read that handwriting. The scribe was Ratnakant Rajanak, Ratna Ratharajthan. Kashrapata Ismiswanan Ratharajthan. He was a fast scribe. Keshavram showed him the manuscript written on paper, but did not allow him to copy it. Instead, he gave him another 17th century copy, which was written by Pandit Ganakak, and he prepared its copies, copied all the 8,000 shlokas of Rajtarangi till about 6 weeks' time through his Kashmiri correspondence, particularly Sahib Ram's sons, Pandit Damodar and Pandit Dayaram. Another person was Pandit Chandram. These were the main helpers who helped him in copying these manuscripts. Now, Buller realized that if we have to have a perfectly genuine, correct edition of Rajtarangi, then we need to lay the hand on the original manuscript written in the hand of Ratnakantha Rajanak. He was a fast scribe. Kashmiri Pandits in those times would call him Ratharajdan.
Ratharajdan.
Ratharajdan. Colloquial. Rathasas Kadamus Ratharajdan. Rath was that he was a fast scribe. He would write very fast, most of the time for his own self rather than prepare a copy for anybody else. So Rajtarangi also was an attempt by Ratharajdan on similar lines. Now this Keshavram's family was the only family in Kashmir which for 9 generations had the copy of the original manuscript from one generation to another generation.
They were beholding it, but they didn't. Nobody was knowing from the external world about it.
Nobody knew till Buller said the owner of the manuscript is Shupadhyay's grandson, Keshavram. But Keshavram maintained a policy. No one can touch it. It's a sacred thing, but it's here. Buller called it Codex Archetypus, the original manuscript of Rajtarangi. And after he completed his tour by the end of October, he had collected 300 manuscripts, packed in 6 tin-lined boxes so that rust doesn't affect them, and packed them and took them with him to Bombay, which finally found way to today's Bhandarkar Oriental Research Institute.
Yes.
At that time, his collection became part of Elphinstone College and Deccan College, Pune. Now, as Buller went, he knew that it's a paper manuscript. How come Kalhana's time paper would have been used?
Which bark? It has to be which bark or other thing. Yeah.
The Kashmiris had the tradition of writing on birch bark.
Birch bark, yeah.
So obviously,
Kashmiris, for that matter, Indian in other parts of India as well. Birch bark was,
it was
practiced.
Papyrus. It was papyrus, the palm leaf in other parts of India, not birch bark. Birch bark only grows about 12,000 feet.
5,000 feet.
So there would be no birch trees in rest of India, but in Kashmir, the writing material was birch bark. So Buller insisted with his Kashmiri correspondents, lo and behold, I am not convinced. You tell me there is no birch manuscript. There must have been, and you got to find it for me. All Pandits came with the same sullen face and same story. Sir, this is the oldest and this is the only one. which is with Kesharam. There is nothing more than that. Buller heard it with little disappointment. But one day, Chandram, when he met Buller, he was sad and with a sunken face. Buller asked him, "What's wrong with you?" He said, "We all tried our best to find a birch manuscript of the original Rajtarangni. But I must tell you that when I was a young boy, I had seen it with my father in his library.
Oh,
But those times were very harsh. The Afghans, the Pathans were ruling, and they were very ruthless with these sacred things. And my father had kept it in the puja room, the Thokurkut. He preferred it that it better be thrown into the holy Vitastha rather than
oh.
getting desecrated."
It
So
was so much revered and so much respected,
ever. So the
sacred.
original birch bark manuscript was thrown into river Vitasta by Chandram's father, only to keep it sacred. And there was also a tradition in Kashmir that Pandits would immerse holy books, which they feared the Afghans would desecrate. They would prefer to throw it to the river. So Buller recorded, after this, there was no hope of the original birch manuscript. So we have to be content with Kesharam's Codex Archetypus. Now, Buller himself also did not get access to it. When he went back to Vienna, he left India. There, fortunately, his student was Oral Stein. Buller narrated these stories to Stein, and more particularly the story about Rajtarangni, how it is possible. Buller established that it existed, but he could not procure it. Fired by his teacher's zeal, Stein wanted to see that if he could be lucky enough and finds a way to go to India and then try obtaining a copy of the Codex Archetypus. Now, what happened? Stein finished his PhD from Tübingen in 1883, did his postdoctorals from London, Cambridge, and Oxford. And
He was
after
Hungarian,
finishing,
or
he
Stein was
was born
Hungarian?
Hungarian, but naturalized British citizen. He became British citizen in 1904. And that too, in what we now have POK. He was naturalized as British in a place called Batakundi, a little beyond Hunza. So it was part of J&K at that time. So he took the oath of allegiance in Batakundi, which is now POK. Now, Buller told his teacher, "Now help me way out. I have finished my formal academic courses." He said, "If you want to go to Oxford, 180 pounds are waiting for you. But if you want a career, then road leads to dusty India."
Dusty India.
Stein chose a career to dusty India. But how could he have gone? How could he have found to go to India?
But he
Buller,
was in the central, he has worked in the Central Asia also as an archaeologist or something like that. Yeah.
only after he came to India first. He came to
Achha,
Kashmir.
after India. Okay.
After India, he went to Central Asia. Now, luck was on Stein's side. Stein's maternal uncle was a great ophthalmologist and the only ophthalmologist in entire Europe by the name Ignaz Hischler. Hischler had great contacts with the British circles. And among us those, he knew two people of the Viceroy's Council, Sir Henry Rawlinson and Sir Henry Yule, who were on the Viceroy's Council. Hischler said one day Stein came to visit his uncle, where these two gentlemen were also with his uncle, gossiping. He introduced his nephew to them and told them that he is so and so qualified and a bright young man, looks for an employment. Yule told Hitler, is he interested to go to India? He said, why shouldn't he go? Yule said him, then there is a vacancy of dual positions, one of the registrar of Punjab University and that of the principal of the Oriental College at Lahore. He has to take both the positions and I'll recommend him. Now once Yule said, Rawlinson endorsed, and that is how the Viceroy's Council recommended Stein's appointment at Lahore as registrar of the university and simultaneously the principal of the Oriental College.
Oh.
So he left Budapest on way to India from the port of Brindisi and landed in early 1887 in Lahore. Once the summer break happened, Stein recalled that Rajtarangni is awaiting in Kashmir and it's not too far from Lahore. Why don't I spend my holidays in Srinagar and beat the overheat of Lahore and go to the Venus of Asia? So he takes a passage.
Olstein was a PhD from he had completed his PhD in Sanskrit.
From Tubingen, from classical languages and Latin.
Yes.
And
that is something great.
And then did his postdoctoral from 3 universities, London, Oxford and Cambridge. Now he came to Kashmir in search of Codex Archetypus. Fortunately, he knew the story that Buller could not get access to this. And how does he go? Fortunately, one of the pupils he had at the Oriental College was Hari Krishna Kaul. We all know as Raja Hari Krishna Kaul, who eventually even became the Prime Minister of J&K in 1931. Stein told Hari Krishna Kaul, look here, your father is the member of the Maharaja's Council, Pandit Suraj Kaul. Why don't you impress your father? I'm interested to have this manuscript and edit the Rajtarangni. Do help me. Now a student, how would he deny his great teacher not to help him? Hari Krishna Kaul placed the request to Suraj Kaul and told him that my teacher wants it. Suraj Kaul said, I'll find out. When Suraj Kaul found out where the manuscript is, it was told to him that the owner Keshav Ram has since died by the time Buller had seen it 13 years ago. The year was 1888 summer. And where is the manuscript? It was divided between his 3 sons because no one wanted to part with the family heirloom of 9 generations. So they had torn the manuscript into 3 parts pieces, and respective sons took the respective portions. All the 3 sons maintained the same policy. We cannot part with these. But inducements, pressure, Maharaja's orders, whatever it might have been, Suraj Kaul was able to collect these 3 parts from these 3 owners and hand it over to Stein.
All Stein.
Now, how did it happen? When Stein had first arrived in Srinagar, he was greeted by Pandit Suraj Kaul, who knew what his purpose was. Because Stein's Vice-Chancellor, Dr. Rattigan, had already sent a letter of recommendation to Suraj Kaul that you help him in procuring the original manuscript of Raj Tarangani.
Hmm.
So Suraj Kaul and invited to him his place. He called many Pandits to converse with Stein in Sanskrit, and as a gift, as a parting gift, to say him that the Darbar is supporting him, he was presented with a dal, mev dal, an
Oh,
equity of fruits and vegetables. And it was presented to him, symbolizing that you have our support, we will help you. Next day, Suraj Kaul invited Raja Amar Singh to his place and asked Stein also to come and meet him. Raja Amar Singh knew Sanskrit and made Stein to speak Sanskrit and tell him what is the status of Sanskrit learning in Europe. He was convinced, the Pandits were convinced that he is well aware of Sanskrit, he must be helped. So Suraj Kaul eventually got these three pieces, three parts of the Rajtarani Codex manuscript from the three sons of the owner, Keshav, who had died, and the whole manuscript landed in Stein's hands.
stands hand. Yeah.
But not sure a year earlier that he would get it, he had still got two copies prepared from the manuscripts of Govind Kaul and Balbhadra Razdan, and
Oh,
compared this codex with them, and finally asked Govind Kaul to prepare a perfect copy of the manuscript. The year was 1890. Now, Stein remembered that my teacher could not touch and see this rare manuscript. I must take it to Vienna, show it to my teacher, and he'll be happy, and I'll also have his guidance how to deal with it. So Stein took this manuscript to Vienna in 1890 to show it to his guru. While on his way back, this manuscript, by an error, was in a box dropped by a Flemish porter instead on the deck of the ship at Ostende Harbor. The box which
fell
contained
down.
this manuscript went into the sea
Oh
and
my.
got
Yes, yes, I
immersed
have heard
and
about that.
soaked. It gave Stein a shock. Lo and behold, what do? I have taken it on loan. I had to work on it, and now it's immersed by the corrosive seawater, and the paper must have got tattered. So he opened the box and fortunately saw that seawater had not affected the paper,
Oh,
because it was the traditional kosher dag kakud, pounded paper which the Kashmiris would make. It was a kind of a parchment,
oh, I see.
not the
That's a great
conventional
information.
fiber paper. It was a parchment made of rags, made by Pandits by pounding these and then creating paper out of it. Luckily, the ink on the manuscript was indelible. Seawater had not effaced it. So
Uh,
the
wa-
entire manuscript was intact.
Fortunate.
So Stein started working on it and returned these three parts to the respective owners. None of them had any inkling that they were soaked in the seawater and almost lost. So Stein recorded that these owners had no clues to the fact that their family talisman had a abhishekha, had a watery lustration, because they had gone into the seawater, but nothing had affected these parts. So they never realized that they could have been damaged by seawater. What happened to these three parts and what happened to that family after 1892 is a colossal tragedy of our legacy. No one in community knows where the codex is or what happened to it and who the descendants of this man are and where are they. No one knows. So in 1890, Stein started working on this manuscript with the help of two Pandits, mainly Govind Kaul and in the later parts with Pandit Mukundaram Shastri.
Mukundaram Shastri and Govind Kaul.
By
They were,
April
they were the
91,
courtiers. They were both the
huh?
courtiers. They were both the courtiers.
Both of them were courtiers. Of course,
Okay.
Govind Kaul died quite young at the age of about 49, 50 in 1899, when Stein himself was in Sikkim, separated by the entire breadth of India. He was not present when his best Indian friend died. By April 1891, this Rajtarani edition in Sanskrit was almost nearing completion. Stein made arrangements with the German publisher Harasowitz, who guaranteed him 50 copies and gave him a royalty of 75%. And the price of the copy was put at 16 rupees. The Punjab government promised 50 copies. The Bombay Technical Press ordered for 50 copies, and about 100 copies were taken by Kashmir Darbar. So nearly about 300 copies, priced at 16 rupees, were finally published. That was the first Sanskrit edition of Rajtarangini. Now the first thing Stein did was presented a copy to Maharaja Pratap Singh, to whom he also dedicated the edition. Next, he met Raja Amar Singh, gave him the copy, and also asked him that since I am interested to do further excavations and correlate the old sites written in Rajtarangini with the real geography, ancient geography of Kashmir, I need funds. Raja Amar Singh granted Stein 500 rupees, and from 1892 onwards till 1895, he went on excavations and collected lots of antiquarian materials, which eventually became what we know as ancient geography of Kashmir.
It was done by Kunigan. There is a book, Ancient Geography of Kashmir.
By Stein.
By Stein only?
By Stein. Ancient Geography of India is Cunningham.
Okay.
Ancient Geography of India is Alexander Cunningham. But
Alexander Cunningham. That's Alexander
Stein.
Cunningham. That's what I have the book one. That book is it is in my library.
Yes, that's Cunningham. So by 1897, the manuscript of ancient.
I wanted to know, Dr. Saab, I wanted to know when did he actually translate it? Because it is said that he worked in a tent near that Mohan Marg Meadows and he stayed there and
Now
in English. Yeah.
For more access for the Europeans, Stein decided to have it translated into English with exegesis, with notes and references, making index of all the places, all the events. And this work Stein did with the help of two people mainly, Pandit Mukundaram Shastri and my grandfather Nityanand Shastri. So the English translation appeared finally, published by Constable in England in 1900. This is how the original manuscript of Rajtarangini became the basis of the most reliable edited text of Kalhana's version.
No, but actually, anyway, I mean, this is the wonderful composition. Wonderful journey. I mean, nobody knows about this whole.
Everyone knows it. We are repeating.
No, I don't think so. I mean, majority of our community members, I'm talking about my community members who always talk about Rajtarangini, they don't know. They only know that it was translated. Nobody knows that it was a corrupted version and how the actual Bullard played the big role in consolidating it, and the Bitchbach was already lost to the Vitasta. yeah. I mean, they knew the story,
Please.
just the outline, corrupted outline, I can say, not the exact one as you explained. So that is a kind
Now,
of a very understanding
I'll
of it. But
recall a
uh,
very,
but as a subject of Raj Tarangani, there are few challenges which normally historians say that they
only
challenge
the
it as an
Muslim,
historic.
only the
Yeah.
Muslim historians from Valley say. No one in the world says that it's a
Okay. They
figment
said
of
that they,
imagination.
especially in the arena of, they say that in the arena of the chronology and chronology and the periodicity. There is a
Hmm.
lot of confusion in the
You
Rajtarangani one.
see, the
Another,
I
they say
think
that exaggeration of Lalita Dita Muktapiya. I mean, a lot of exaggeration. Although his contemporary courtiers of this Pandit Kalhan, they say that he was a man, a no nonsense man, and a very disciplined and a very authentic personality who would
I'll tell
never
you,
do something like that. Yeah,
this challenge comes only from contemporary historians of Kashmir who have
only from
recently
there.
addressed themselves to Kalanas Raj Sarangni. I want to tell those scholars, those writers, three basic
Yes.
questions. Firstly, all the histories written by Islamic scholar, Muslim scholars in Persian, they all are rooted in Kalana's version. One, whether it is Chadura, whether it is Hyder Malik, whether it is XYZ, they are. Secondly, we must understand modern sense of historiography and writing history. And writing history 1,000 years ago cannot be compared and criticized for sources, for references, for bibliographies, for footnotes. No. Then it must also be taken into account that Sanskrit is God's language. There is no ordinariness in this expression. It's always in superlative terms.
That's very right. That I
There's
understand.
nothing, there's nothing mediocre in Sanskrit.
Even it
There's
does
nothing ordinary. If
as
he
you as
says,
you as you mentioned God, because I probably think it is superlative, you said. But besides that, I also understand of late, because I was handicapped by, I would never we never were taught Sanskrit by our parents. So I tried very late, a bit I tried, because I had some time, and moment I started just understanding a bit of this Sanskrit terminology, grammar, and other things, I found that my cognitive apparatus, it got a very stimulating change. So it coincides with something, because there are some German schools and many other schools in the West who teach young children Sanskrit. Sanskrit, because Sanskrit has some construct which has some effect of the
yes,
human
yes, yes,
cognitive
yes,
apparatus.
yes.
That's what I said.
You see, for instance, Kalana might have written something about that it was a bright day with full sun, which illuminated like million suns. Now, this word million is questioned today by contemporary historians. What do you mean by million suns?
It means abundance,
It
abundance,
means abundance of light, abundance of
abundance. It could be
sunlight,
a metaphor. He was a
and it
poet.
could
It
be a
was a
bright
poetry. It
day
was a verse, three verse.
because
Yeah.
he wrote it in a poetic meter. It was not prosic. Or there were 10 million uh, temples which emerged from this or that. This is not to mean that this is exaggeration. It's only to indicate the abundance. Since Sanskrit is such a powerful and rich language, it doesn't count in tens and twenties and hundreds. So that sense to communicate and to portray the strength of the argument, they use these exaggerations.
Yeah,
It
there is
might
one
have been,
one aspect, Doctor. Aspect is there, which sometimes, because I went to this Vedgai also, I had an interaction with her also, and I had this Nilmat Puran, because one portion of this before that, I think around Govind 1 and from the Yashomati's period,
Gonanda,
and down the
Gonanda,
line, Gonand one, and
Gonanda
then
one.
up to the 1000 years and 1500. That part of the first part of this, that particular, which is contributed and supported by this Nilmat Puran also. So it is said that it may not be a history. I mean, something like that happened. That is what people raise questions at. It is not an
You
emotional thing to be
see,
replied. We have to talk
my
to it logically.
last submission to these critics would be, let us keep aside Kalahana
Okay.
and then let them write old history of Kashmir. Let's put Kalana. And Kalana also declares that since those works are not available, but he has utilized those, several, Hail Raja, some other names, I can't recall all those names, and he based on that. Now, if we remove this record of the Hindu histories, then the Persian versions of these histories, let me see how many of the contemporary scholars who criticize
Can come
Kalana
out
and
with some. No,
come out
absolutely.
with the ancient history. It will be
That's
a
a
blank
farcical.
page.
That's a farcical to even think
So
on
there
those
is a
terms.
great falsity in this assertion that
Yeah.
Kalanas is a figment of imagination.
No, it's not.
It is to belittle scholarship. It is to belittle tradition. It's to belittle history as it was. You see, to
I
sit
agree. I
in
agree.
judgment is very easy.
Yes.
Let me see how many people can write history of Kashmir in 8,000 verses or 8,000 lines. Nobody.
Without the support of these documents, nothing is there. There's nothing. I mean, as you explained, such a great Western servants, they came from such far land with a commission to work on this, and there was no non-seriousness on this on their part. At least they had to reply to the king, they had to reply to the queen, the empire and the bureaucracy and the establishment, and be loyal to the king here also as well, the monarchy here, Dogra monarchy as well. How could they?
It's not
And
question of
how
being loyal
meticulously
and
you explain the Buller's construct, the methodology of research. I mean, that is something very meticulous, very, very, very
you
effective.
see, let me state it very categorically. Kashmir's past, known to the world, known to us as Kashmiri Pandits, and known to our fellow brothers, Kashmiri Muslims in the valley, would have remained unknown and dark
Without
for
Dogra's.
all times to come, but for two people, George Buller and Orelstein.
Orelstein. Oh, the wonderful people.
Nobody knew Kalahana, nobody knew Abhinav Gupta, nobody knew Shava text, nobody knew anything. Who first identified Shava text in Kashmir? It was Buller. Who gave us the edited version, right or wrong? It was Stein. If we are so proud today to claim Kashmir Shavism as a distinct religious philosophy of one of the distinct religious philosophies of the world, not only of India or Kashmir.
No. Yes,
the claim that the foundation of that awareness was laid by none other than Buller.
Buller has a great role. He created the edifice, canvas. Yeah.
He was called as a phenomenal manuscript collector.
Let's travel back now to 2,400 years, almost 2,000 years into the before Christ, the Atharveda.
Yes, we'll come to that.
So, I mean, it's in between 2000. We are talking about Rajtarangani. It is around 12th century, and now we are going to Atharveda.
We'll come about 2nd century. Atharveda.
Atharveda is about which century?
Second
I think it's okay.
The manuscripts appear to us by about 16th, 17th century, but the work is considered to be much older. Now I'll come with a perspective here.
Right.
If Rajtarangani became magnet for the Westerners to come to Kashmir, and Buller and Stein placed all the manuscript wealth before the whole world, There was another aspect to this attraction. Germans were very inquisitive about the Vedic literature of India simultaneously in the 19th century. And among us, the pioneers was Rudolf von Roth,
What?
David DeWitt Whitney, and Albrecht Weber. They worked on the Vedic text and even produced a dictionary with bottling, sometimes by 1856, 1855. And Vedic Samhita, Rigvedic Samhita, was published in 20 years from 1855 to 1875 by Roth. But Roth was convinced that of all the 9 schools of the Vedic studies, which are Pratishakya, which are Shaunaka and Paiplad.
Shaunaka and Paiplad. Yeah.
Shaunaka, Paiplad, and Pratishakya. Buller began this search of Vedic literature in Gujarat in a village called as Ratnakanthavada. And it was in district Lunawada. And their 3 families were known as Atharvedis, who possessed the Pratishakya version of the Atharveda. That was the beginning of Vedic literature search in India. But this was it. When he came to Srinagar, and the masterpieces were 3 manuscripts. He located the existence of Rajtarangni, he located the existence of Atharvaved, and he also located the existence of Rigved Samhita. Rigved. This Rigved manuscript he passed on to Max Muller in 1876. But Paiplad did not fall into Buller's hand. This Paiplad Atharved did not fall into Buller's hand, but Buller is still connected to it. Now I'll relate the story about the Atharved manuscript.
Okay, please.
Roth insisted the British authorities in India that I want this manuscript. He impressed and persuaded them for years by official and quasi-official private influences. I want to have this manuscript. And it was asked to Roth, where in India does it exist? From a traveler's half-baked account, the term uses garbled account. Roth located its existence and provenance in Kashmir. So the request was placed with Maharaja Ranbir Singh, and he was asked that you find it said that it's with some of the Pandit in Kashmir, and this gentleman wants to study. So Ranbir Singh set out his men, and finally it was traced to Pandit Keshav Bhatt Zadu, Pandit Jagdar Zadu's great-grandfather.
Professor Jagdar Zadu's.
Now, Keshav Bhatt Zadu on the first said nothing doing. I cannot part. This is a family heirloom. Inducements followed, pressure followed, and Keshav Bhatt Zadu had to relent. But he only relented on 2 conditions. That give me time to prepare a copy for myself, and another copy which must be kept in the Royal Library of Ranbir Singh, what we today know as the famous Raghunath Temple Library.
Yes. I've gone there once, twice.
A copy of Atharved Paiplad Shak still exists in the Raghunath Temple Library. Now this Birch manuscript was identified, and it was obtained from Keshav Bhatt Zadu and sent to Ranbir Singh. Ranbir Singh found tattered birch bark manuscript which had lot of dirt, which had lot of dust on it, grimy, and he did not know what to do with it. He simply, and there was a wire passing through this manuscript. It was like that
Ah,
they put those tokens in a wire.
a tokens in earlier time
So
used to be
all
there.
these birch bark folios had a hole in the middle, and these folios were stuck in a wire, in a round wire with a tie, and it was handed over to Ranbir Singh. Ranbir Singh knew nothing about it. He said, damn it, it's for the Britishers now, what they want to do with it. He sent it to the Lieutenant Governor at Calcutta of the British Viceroy's office mansion. He
Summer
was
capital.
William Muir, Lieutenant
Summer
Governor
capital of British
William
India.
Muir.
Yeah.
When Muir saw this tattered, grimy birch bark thing, and he said, what nonsense has landed in my hand? But they are saying that it's very important. So he knew Buller's reputation. Buller at the time was at Surat. A telegram was sent by the Viceroy's office, Viceregal mansion, to Buller to come to Calcutta and survey the manuscript. William Muir, the governor, Lieutenant Governor, simply handed over this bundle of messy birch bark to Buller's hands. And Buller had a look and knew what this birch bark was. He was confident that the first thing this manuscript needs laundering, cleaning, before anything can be made out of it. Because it was so...
I mean, Dr. Saab, I want to make you to make public understand, the youngsters understand, this birch bark folios, they were like the separate pages, or it was like a roll, or
No, separate
how
pages.
did it exist?
Separate pages held by a wire passing
Held by a wire.
through the middle of each folio. They numbered about 287 folios.
My God.
So Buller asked Governor, where is your bathroom? He said, what are you going to do it? I said, I want to give this bundle a wash under your tap. Muir was little nonplussed what he is doing. It's already in a mess, and he'll pour water on it and it will be spoiled. But Buller knew that birch bark is not spoiled by water. And one look at the manuscript writing, he was convinced that it is indelible. Water will not affect it. So Buller went to the Viceroy's, Lieutenant Governor's bathroom in the Viceregal mansion at Calcutta, laundered it, cleaned it, wiped it, and put it again in the hands of the Lieutenant Governor. He was so delighted to see a clean manuscript. Muir asked him what next to be done. He said, this must be handed over to a good book binder who will bind the loose folios. And a week later, this well-bound birch bark volume was sent to Von Roth into Bingen. So Buller was again responsible to rescue the Atharvaveda of the Pipelad Shak. And the beauty of this manuscript was that it was the only copy of its version anywhere in the world. There was no Pipelad manuscript of Atharvaveda anywhere in India. Of course, there were 9 traditions, only 3 had survived. And in the Pipelad, this particular manuscript of Keshav Bhatt Sadhu was the only copy. Of course, he made 2 copies, but the original one on birch bark, which was attributed to 17th century, was sent to Roth. The condition set by Keshav Bhatt Sadhu was that it's a loan. But lo and behold, it's almost 150 years now, 1876 to 2024. 149 years, 48 years. The original has never come back to India.
Oh my
It is
God.
never returned to the owner during his lifetime, nor to his descendants later, and not to the place of its origin, Kashmir. In 2002,
Where does it lie? It is in some museum there or any? Yeah.
Atharvaved Pipelad Shah is the greatest Eastern treasure in any European library collection, and the manuscript today lies on the shelves of Tübingen University in Germany. When there was a movement kind of a thing when various nations started claiming this colonial loot, that our heritage, our relics, our artifacts have gone to various places in the world, we must also claim. I was the first person to write about it, that Atharva went outside India as a loan. It should return to India. This somehow catch the imagination of some authorities, and government of India insisted with the German government that you must return Pipelad Atharvaved back to India.
Yes. That's happening
But they,
nowadays.
but they raise that the copyrights of its ownership, as far as Germany is concerned, lie with von Roth, and we have no authority that we can take
Surpass.
it out from Germany and send it back. And the Tübingen University itself will not part with it. What best we can do is, we can send you CD-ROM diskettes of the facsimiles of the manuscript.
Oh, that's so
In 2002, 149 CD-ROM diskettes of the Atharvaved Pipelad Shah of Kashmir were handed over by German ambassador then, Heimo Richter. He handed over it to the Indian authorities at Indira Gandhi National Center for Arts.
Oh, that's so
So
wonderful.
today this complete manuscript in CD-ROM is available with IGNCA, and the original manuscript is in Tübingen. Until Roth was alive, it was considered as property of Ron Roth in Tübingen University. And after his death, it became property of the university archives.
So it's a deceitful because he got it from the from Kashmiri
You see,
sources. And
I'll tell you, I'll give you. Buller took 300 manuscripts. Stein took about 368 manuscripts. Some they purchased, some they obtained copies. Now, if you have purchased something, whatever the times were, have the purchasers deceived you? I had a manuscript and you paid me 100 rupees or 50 rupees or 50,000 rupees and you
that was a
purchased it
mutual.
for me. Where is the deceit? I am of the opinion to call them that they cheated or looted our heritage would be wrong. There is another way to claim the legacy, the place of origin. What you are doing it there, we also can do it here in modern times. If they can keep it in Oxford, Cambridge, Vienna, Tübingen, Harvard, we can also keep it in so many great universities, Banaras, Delhi University, National Museum, National Archives. The question is not that they looted, they purchased them. If you happen to see Stein's list, that man has listed out each manuscript he purchased, from whom, through whose mediation, and for what amount.
And who knows? It must be a distress sale, but doesn't matter. Legally, it is right.
Distress sale of what? Kashmiris were not aware till these people made that, brought this awareness to the locals.
Yes, that's true. It's a dichotomy.
There may be a paradox or there may be an irony in this situation.
Irony. Yeah.
But saying that Kashmir's literary legacy was looted, or, I'll tell you, when Curzon became viceroy, his priority was to preserve the past monuments of India. So, Archaeological Survey of India was revived. It existed in 1870s, 80s, but it was almost a defunct institution.
Defunct institution.
Nothing great was done. It was Curzon's initiative that revived ASI, and monuments in India started becoming preserved and protected. Fine. Now, Maharaja Pratap Singh was equally an emancipated Dogra Maharaja who also took some lead from this initiative of Curzon. If they are doing this in India, we can also do so in Kashmir. We have so many ruins and historical places. And thus came the idea to import a European scholar who will make a survey of it.
Oh.
And the scholar and the person was Superintendent Surveyor of Northern Circle, which consisted of Rajasthan, part of Haryana, little of Punjab, and Kashmir. That was Jean Philip Vogel. Pratap Singh invited Vogel in 1904 to make a survey of monuments in Kashmir and also give a blueprint how to excavate manuscripts. The plan given by Vogel was implemented by Pratap Singh by establishing its own research, archaeology, archives, and library department. Vogel thought, I may be the man who will now be asked to head it. But Pratap Singh's favorite was the Bengali J.C. Chatterjee. He appointed him as superintendent of archaeology, libraries, archives, and this. So Chatterjee became in charge, and an initiative was set in. And all the manuscripts of Kashmiri Shaiva texts tumbled out. As many as 90 of them. This happened on whose initiative? Today, we are so proud of Kashmir Shaiva texts. Whatever was discovered in the first 2 decades by 1920, the department was established in 1907, made it independent and full-fledged to start field work by 1911. By 1920 or so, all the Kashmiri Shaiva texts were procured by the Kashmir Department of Archaeology, Museum and Library. Since then, we have no new Kashmir Shaiva text. Now, whom do you give credit for founding Shaiva texts in Kashmir?
Because the monarchy,
and the monarch is so proud of them. The credit must go to the Western initiative.
Western service.
Of course, supported by the native Pandits.
Collaborative, that scholarship, that is, you had already a conversation on that.
One needs to give. And today, it's genuinely right if Atharvaved and other manuscripts come back to India, come back to their respective places. Once they land up in India, don't you think every owner's descendant will start claiming this is my heritage? At this stage, we may be only bothered that this is Indian heritage, looted by the colonial masters. But once this returns, and I being a descendant, you being a descendant, somebody else being a descendant, will he not exert his rights to own those family heirlooms and legacy?
Once it becomes a national property.
Contentious. I'll give another example related to Gilgit manuscripts.
It is. I
I'll
just
come to
wanted to
Gilgit
confirm one
manuscript
thing
now.
from you, Doctor. I wanted to confirm one thing. British Stahl has stated somewhere that the compilation of poetry and knowledge developed in two different regions. He says that it is the Kuru region from here in the northern and the eastern region, Panchals. These two amalgamation has happened into this Atharveda, creation of Atharveda. He says like that. It is his.
Which Atharveda? There were 9 traditions.
There were 9. Yes,
You
yes,
see,
that's
lately,
Pipalla. They said it's from Pipalla because it's from people or something like that. I don't know. I mean, you can clear about it. Yeah.
I wouldn't be qualified to comment that Paipalada is from the term people and people is in the hot plains of India. Then we should not have had a manuscript surviving in Kashmir. We could have rather found a manuscript of this version in India, in the central India or other parts of India. Not going into that. I'll now come to Gilgit manuscript, but
No, before that, I
the
wanted this. I mean, content. Give us the essence of the content. Essence of the content of this other way.
Atharveda was of hymns and incantations which had lots of medicinal effect also.
Okay.
When West became aware and Atharveda was published in photochromic form, 547 leaves, when they photographed it in color by Richard Garvey and Morris Bloomfield in 1901.
Morris Bloomfield.
The first modern medical conference was hosted at Yale and its coordinator, the chief, was one American doctor, William Henry Welch. He gave a presentation talk on this Atharveda as the first healing text, hymns of healing text, and those medicinal accounts written
Medicinal
in the Atharveda.
surgery and other things. Yeah.
So much
Even
so,
that, for that matter, Chadak, Maharishi Chadak has said that all my
Yes.
derivations are from Atharveda. Yeah.
So much so that the entire congregation of the people who was attending that medical conference at Yale, they were given a copy of the Kashmiri Atharveda. Later, on Welch's recommendation, it was distributed to all medical libraries in America, including those at Washington and Crerar at Illinois in Chicago.
Illinois.
Now, I'll give you a corollary. I said you about Atharveda, how they refused or how they did. Gilgit manuscript was discovered in 1931.
Shepherds?
It was discovered accidentally by some cowboys, shepherd boys,
Shepherds.
who hit a small mound of earth and tumbled out some circular kind of a thing, and which they broke. There was a stupa, Buddhist stupa, inside which there were several votive temples. And this news spread in the small town of Gilgit. Gilgit is a place which is surrounded
Nopur.
near Nopur village.
Near
I'll come to that. Many scholars don't call it as Gilgit manuscript. They prefer it to call it Nopur manuscripts. Because Nopur was the village in Gilgit where these were discovered. Now Gilgit is surrounded by 3 majestic ranges of hills: the Himalayas, the Karakoram, and the Pamirs. 3 empire borders are connected to Gilgit: the Russian Empire, the Indian Empire, and the Chinese Empire. This is a folio of paper manuscript of Gilgit manuscript on a paper folio.
Yes.
Now, what happened? In 1931, they were discovered, and there was a lot of commotion. Something very unique and precious has been discovered. So every ignorant fellow rushed to the spot of this discovery and began digging. They digged left and right with their shovels and axes and rods, and in the process damaged many folios and many covers, painted covers. They were lost forever. Now whatever was left was ordered by the local wazir. No more digging, everybody should buzz off. He cordoned off the area and collected all this mess and kept in his office. He handed over the custody of these to the local tehsildar. Coincidentally, it was May 1931. Stein arrived in Gilgit on 31st May. A couple of days ago, this bundle of whatever value was discovered. And Stein was returning from his fourth failed expedition of the Chinese Turkestan, because the Chinese authorities told that he was a pernicious thief, like we feel that he is looting our heritage and taking it away. They made him to surrender his passport. They made him to surrender all that, archaeological excavations he had made.
What he had, treasure he had
to deposit here in the local, not residence office,
museum or something,
Chinese official, and he was barehanded. He was he was sullen, he was gloomy, he was disheartened, he was humiliated. And he made a last bit prayer that at least allow me to photograph what all I have found. The Chinese authorities permitted him, and his fourth expedition results only survive today in photographs, not in actual artifacts. So Stein was waiting at Gilgit, waiting for his caravan horses and his personal luggage to arrive in Gilgit. And at the same time, these manuscripts were discovered.
Oh, he crossed the Gilgit.
He crossed. The local authorities knew about the reputation of Stein, that he is an expert on manuscripts. The tehsildar, the wazir, invited him to the office and told him to have a look at these. He had a look and he said they are precious and should be the oldest ever discovered in India. As for they look to be Buddhist texts, out of which there was something about the Lotus Sutras, folk tales.
Lotus Sutra,
it had a variety of subjects.
Birch bark and other things as well.
At that time, it was birch bark. Paper ones appeared later. I'll tell you. Now Stein was told by Wazir, have a look and tell us what it is. He had burnt his fingers in Chinese Turkestan. He said, if I touch these also, I'll be told that this rascal has again snatched our things. He said it's better for the state authorities to decide who should have a look over them. He refused to study them. But some of the folios which had fallen into the hands of the miscreants in Gilgit, he procured them on some little money and kept with themselves. It was on 24th July 1931, Stein announced to the world about the discovery of Gilgit manuscripts. The first man to take it at the International Oriental Conference was Buller, who assigned them to a date which was later found to be an exaggerated case. But Buller was too excited about this discovery. Now Stein knew it, and he had certain folios and landed in Srinagar. After some time, when this news spread that these are important and this is a unique find in India about Buddhist literature, Maharaja Hari Singh ordered the Wazir of Gilgit to send these manuscripts to Srinagar. In Srinagar, they were locked up in the government storehouse or malkhana or treasury under the care of the Prime Minister Raja Hari Singh, Raja Hari Krishna Kaul.
Raja Hari Krishna Kaul.
So, Gilgit manuscripts first arrived for custody under lock and key with Raja Hari Krishna Kaul, who was the Prime Minister. Unfortunately, 1931 happened to be a year of mixed history for Kashmir. On one hand, you discover the greatest treasured volume, and they would have celebrated it. Its fame would have spread, because after it was discovered, all kinds of people started rushing to Gilgit to find more. Many Buddhist scholars came. Many petitions were made to Hari Singh that this should be preserved. It's a world property. Now, once Hari Singh got this inkling, it's a world property, he asked Wazir, send it here and we'll keep it safely. Now,
he was an intelligent man, Hari Singh.
It was an unfortunate thing that the moment of celebration to announce to the world that we have such a great heritage discovered in Kashmir was marred by the riots of July 31. The Muslim riots, 13th July.
31, the riots. Yeah, because
and Stein had announced
that was against the monarchy, against the empirical.
Yeah. So this time period coincided when it should have been a time for celebration. It became time of chaos in Kashmir, particularly in Srinagar. So priority to do something with Gilgit manuscripts went to the back burner, and the authorities got busy with restoring peace and order.
Actually, it was an administration.
For next 6 years, these remained locked up in the Prime Minister's office. And once the riot settled down, Raja Hari Krishna Kaul, the Prime Minister, was exhausted and drained so much that he was on the verge of breakdown, health breakdown. He applied for Raja Hari Krishna Kaul tackling the riots. It had a very serious effect on his health.
Hurricane effect, yeah.
And he applied for leave. Hari Singh granted the leave, but said him, I will leave you only once I am able to find an alternative for your leave vacancy. If you are going on leave, somebody must discharge the duties of the Prime Minister. Hari Singh located Elliot James Dowell Colvin, EJD Colvin, of the British Political Office, and he picked him up as the Prime Minister. Knowing about Gilgit manuscripts, Raja Hari Krishna Kaul told Colvin that this is the find. I will do something about and pass instruction what needs to be done to it. So Raja Hari Krishna Kaul, while enjoying his leave in Jammu in early 1932, sent a request to Stein that since you are in Srinagar, why don't you have some more detailed look at the Gilgit manuscripts and tell me what needs to be done. A month later, Hari Krishna Kaul receives a letter. By the time Stein had left for Balochistan. He receives a letter in 1932 from Stein saying, my proposal to Gilgit manuscript says that you sent it to the French scholar and my friend, Professor Selwyn Levy. He is the right man to deal with it. The reason for this was that even before Gilgit manuscripts were discovered, the world knew about its existence from various translations prepared earlier, from Chinese translations. The original manuscript of Gilgit was still to be discovered, but people knew about this manuscript from their translations. And Levy was one of those persons who had prepared the French translation of Gilgit manuscript even before it was discovered. So with this thought in the mind, Stein thought Levi will be the best person to study this manuscript in original. Fine. Raja Hari Krishna KOUL still the prime minister. Colvin was only an acting prime minister till he was permanently replaced. Replied to Stein, there is no way out that the Darbar can invite Levi to Kashmir. Instead, on your assurance, as you write, Darbar may be prepared to send the manuscript to France, to Paris, where Levi was. Fine. Now, inviting Levi was out of question. Sending it to France was out of question. Inviting this man was also ruled out. Anand Law was the secretary of the Indian Historical Quarterly in Calcutta. There was a version of Gilgit manuscripts in some fragmented form, even in Calcutta, and Anand Law knew about it. Law told that the man who is suited for this is Nilnaksh Dutt, professor of Sanskrit at William Fort College in Calcutta.
We have a book.
Between 1932 and 38, nothing happened with it. In 38, the Prime Minister of Kashmir was Diwan Gopalaswamy Iyengar.
Yes.
He was a very bright, intelligent, and a sharp intellectual mind. And as the luck would have, his chief secretary was R.C. Kark, an eminent archaeologist.
Who became the Prime Minister later.
Kark recommended, Nilnaksh Dutt is an eminent man. We can invite him and ask him to edit the Gilgit manuscripts. So Nilnaksh Dutt was recommended by Calcutta University to go to Kashmir and study. Now he had to have a recommendation. At the time, Vice Chancellor of Calcutta University was none other than this Dr. Mukherjee, this Johnson man, what's his name? Shama Prasad Mukherjee.
Shama Prasad Mukherjee. Oh, yeah.
Shama Prasad Mukherjee was the Vice Chancellor of Calcutta University. Shama Prasad Mukherjee gave a recommendation letter to Nilnaksh Dutt on the Prime Minister of Kashmir, Iyengar, that he is the man, you can entrust him. But privately told Nilnaksh Dutt, if you see that Darbar is not interested to edit it, request them that we will take care of it and bring the manuscript to Calcutta.
Yeah. But
instead, Iyengar smelled and he said, we will do it, we will provide you all the facilities. So Nilnaksh Dutt published the first volume in 1939, second in 1941, and the third one in 1945.
Great contribution.
Later, the entire one was published, I'm not remembering, in 9 volumes. And it was digitized also by Hathi Digital Library. So, this Atharvaveda came to light. Now,
Madhusudan KOUL Shastri had also some role to play in excavation, yeah?
After the initial excavations were done of 4 stupas, first 2 were found to be empty. Gilgit manuscript tumbled out from the fourth votive temple. The fourth was left untouched. When this all initiative to edit Gilgit manuscripts came, the state authorities entrusted now Superintendent of Archaeology and Library and Archives, Madhusudan KOUL Shastri, to go to Gilgit and dig for more. What he digged were some paper manuscripts. Now, we must know that paper is the invention of Chinese.
Yes.
and these are Buddhist texts. So obviously, the paper also came from China when these texts might have been written in Gilgit. Then Stein also asserts that even though the people of Gilgit had converted to Islam, but they had buried their relics of their past religion, of which they were still proud. Why would the Muslims have dumped it into the ground, these Buddhist relics, since they were converts, but still had respect for their
For their
past
heritage, it is the
religious
heritage. It
beliefs,
has nothing to do with the
heritage?
religion.
So it were the paper manuscripts which were discovered by Madhusudan Kaul Shastri. And now I'll correlate it with little with Atharveda. How did it land up into Benjar? And how did Gilgit
Before that, I like to say in the context, I mean, this is a basically manuscript from the 6th to 8th century, as they say, AD.
Yes, yes.
And they said that Patola Shahi was there. They were the rulers at that time. They patronized it, and they played a great role in this. I mean,
Patolas in Gilgit those times?
Patola Shahi, yes. Not Patola, sorry, I'm very sorry. Palola Shahi. Palola Shahi. Palola Shahi. Actually, I don't know. I mean,
Could
I
be.
just
I'm
read it
not
in the
aware
morning.
of that.
It is Patola Shahi. Patola Shahi is also known as Palola Shahi. Patola and Palola, they are, I mean, synonymous with each other.
Okay. I'm aware of the small history of the manuscript rather than the history of the times.
Yes. Yeah, please.
Now,
That was
what
just a tribute to the king. I mean,
in 47, when Pakistani tribal raid happened, Government of India and particularly Pandit Nehru, who knew about the importance of this treasure of Indian heritage, he asked Sheikh Abdullah that send it for safety reasons to Delhi. We never know what the raiders will destroy.
will do, yeah.
Nehru never ever wanted that this cultural relic of India's rich past should anyway be harmed by war. So the manuscript was sent to Delhi, and
airlifted to
since
Delhi.
then it has been kept in National Archives. When Mushir al-Hassan became the Director General of National Archives, he was told that Gilgit manuscripts exist in the archives. He was unaware of it. And he initiated some measures that it should be laminated, it should be digitalized, and all those with some Japanese concern, some Japanese institution, Gokarki Foundation, and they did it. At the same time, the Kashmiris, the people at the helm of Kashmiri administration, they became too conscious. How is that Delhi can claim Gilgit manuscript? It is our property and we had sent it. Sheikh Saab had sent. And the man who really fueled this protest was Fida Muhammad Hussain, who was Director of Archaeology and all that. He said, return it. But at that time, the Prime Minister was the Iron Lady, Indira Gandhi.
Indira Gandhi.
He said, it neither belongs to Kashmir, it neither belongs to Gilgit, it belongs to India. They are safe in Delhi. Where they are lodged, they need not be disturbed. That's how Gilgit manuscripts are in National Archives. But local government in the 70s insisted it should be returned to us.
क्या कर रहे होते मन हमें प्रिजर्व खुद नहीं करना आता कुछ भी.
Lately, as a mark of courtesy, National Archives has sent them digital version of the Gilgit manuscript to showcase in the Pratap Museum Library. They don't have the original. Some stray leaves landed up with Stein. Some are preserved in France also, because
and in Pakistan also. In Pakistan also.
Some leaves have gone to Karachi Museum also.
Karachi Museum.
Karachi Museum also.
We're talking about, yeah, please, sir, please.
Here I want to emphasize that how many of us really know that it was Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee's initiative to really get Gilgit manuscripts edited for the world, for India? In 2000 and 2006 or 7, India put up a proposal before UNESCO to include 2 manuscripts in the World Memory Register. One was Gilgit manuscript and one was Rig Veda, which Buller had discovered and sent it to Max Muller. UNESCO agreed for Rig Veda manuscript as having gone into the recognition of World Memory Register, but they did not do the same honor to Gilgit manuscript. But Government of India as an alternate under its National Manuscript Mission program included in 46 precious manuscripts of India under the core name of Vijjan, what is called as treasure.
I don't know. There's a Sanskrit word out there. Yeah.
Intangible treasure of India. I'm forgetting the Hindi or the Sanskrit word for Vijjan.
There is some Sanskrit word.
Vijjan Nidhi. Nidhi means treasure. So it is listed in the 46 rarest of rare manuscripts of India. But somehow
it is also one of the first earliest surviving manuscript of India.
It's the oldest manuscript discovered in India.
Earliest, yeah.
It's the earliest Buddhist manuscript discovered in India. Most of the Buddhist manuscripts were discovered in China, in Japan, in Cambodia, in Ceylon, like that. And it's a paradox that it were the Kashmiri Pandits who took Buddhist texts to these Southeast Asian countries.
Yes.
But strangely, we have no manuscript of Buddhist texts which has been unearthed in Kashmir. We don't have, except for the Gilgit manuscript. So, in a way,
we'll talk about this language and script. It is said that this what is Brahmi and Sanskrit
and early Gupta period.
Early Gupta period, yeah.
Which modified eventually into Sharda. Which transmigorphed.
Yes.
The journey of the script from early Brahmi to Gupta period, what was called as Gupta alphabet, and then it evolved into the normal Sharda. So
there is one line I read it in the morning. Italian scholar Giuseppe Tocci, you must be done. Yeah, he secured another small group of manuscripts in 1950, obtained it from a vendor in Rawalpindi. He presented it to the Karachi Museum. You're talking about.
Yes. Tocci also collected it. No doubt about it. Now again, here, we must appreciate Stein's role about Gilgit manuscripts. He was the man who brought it to the knowledge of the world what the treasure is discovered. Had he
should we? You are a treasure trove yourself. I wanted to continue, and I should have done it in the series rather. But anyway, it's like that greedy person who wants all the eggs one day. All the eggs.
I'll just go in 10 minutes, 5 minutes time to Lok Prakasha and wind
Lok Prakasha, I want to come. Yeah.
It's 1905 and 6. In 1898, Stein had purchased the manuscript of Loka Prakasha, which was written in the hand of Ratnakant, the fast writer, who had also written the Rajtarangani. Stein went for his second expedition between 1906 and 1908. Sahasbhat was his close contemporary colleague in Kashmir, Pandit Sahasbhat Wangu of Ganpatiyar. By this time, he had retired. He was an old man and had been working as a copyist in the local government
Press, government.
at rupees 12 per month salary.
12.
Stein felt somewhere cheated. He felt insulted that such an eminent scholar is not cared about by his own government, by his own Maharaja, by his own people. I need to
Very
remunerate him
insensitive.
with a scholarly work which will earn him an honorarium worth his scholarship.
That's
So
the way.
he called Sahaspat and entrusted him this manuscript of Lokaprakasha to edit it, transcribe it, and write a commentary. By the time Stein returned from his second expedition, Sahaspat had completed the job. Impressed to see a wonderful manuscript legibly written with excellent commentary, he thought that I'll send it to France to Julius Bloch, who was Selvan Levy's student, and ask him to edit it because the local Maharaja's government is not helping this old man. Better you do it, and it will also give him some deserving honorarium.
Relation, yeah.
So Stein sent Sahaspat's edited and commentated version of Lokaprakasha to Julius Bloch in 1912. First parts of it passed the press. Soon came World War I, 1913, and the further publication was stopped because Europe faced recession. Who would fund it? At that time, 1 Indian rupee was equivalent to 2,000 French francs. 1 Indian rupee. That was the level of recession in France. Now, this left incomplete and unfinished, and the manuscript lay with Bibliotheca Paris, which was looked after by Julius Bloch for some time and Selvan Levy. Till 1920. In 1911, Sahaspat expired. So the whole matter
closed,
fell into the cold store. And Stein himself remained busy with Central Asian explorations, 1913 to 1916. So nothing moved. In 1920, he again approached Julius Bloch that we need to complete this work. And there was an exchange of correspondence between the Kashmir Darbar and the Bibliotheca Institute of Paris on its publishing. Nothing worked. Stein next approached his friend at Harvard, Charles Rockwell Landman, and told him. But Landman told him it will be exorbitant if we publish it in America. Why don't you try it in Kashmir itself? Stein again corresponded with the Maharaja that how much it will cost. He influenced the local resident. He was James Woods and told him, recommended, did all. But somehow the costing became a hurdle and Lokaprakasha was never published. The last that happened in 1943 was Stein was still in correspondence with the Maharaja's government through its chief secretary Haveli Ram on the possibility of publishing Lokaprakasha. But as the luck would have, Stein died himself in 1943 in Kabul. So the whole thing fell flat. It was only in 2018, Harvard Sanskrit scholar Michael Witzel procured this manuscript from Paris and published it under Harvard Oriental series. But it's still not a printed version. It is still in facsimiles, like the Gilgit manuscript, like the Atharveda. We still have to find.
Professor Jagadhar Zadu has written some.
Jagadhar Zadu did some parts of the Gilgit manuscript which were discovered by Madhusudan KOUL Shastri.
Oh, I see.
Paper parts, those which were written in paper. But those which were written in birch bark did not exist in India. They had gone to Paris. So the birch bark portions were now recently edited by Michael Witzel. Its transcript copy in the hand of Sahaspat with a beautiful commentary.
You're talking about Lok Prakash.
I'm talking about Loka Prakasha.
Loka Prakash.
And few Loka Prakasha manuscripts, particularly one in the hand of Ratnakart Rajdan, that fast writer, whose writing could not, is still not edited, is still not printed. Even Sahasbhat's commentary and manuscript is not printed. It's a facsimile version.
My goodness.
I have sent you a folio of that manuscript.
Yeah. I'll just put it.
Yes.
I'll just put it.
This is one of the manuscript folios of Loka Prakasha. But this is not the one from Ratnakart's hand. This is the later copy, prepared by somebody who I don't know.
There is one thing more which Jagadhar Jadu says briefly, that there is a concocted, what we call a Shaminder, who doesn't belong to 11th century.
You see, there is a riddle in Shemendra's Loka Prakasha formed the economic history of Kashmir, old Kashmir, ancient Kashmir. The trinity of histories in Kashmir is political history is Rajtarangni, cultural history is Nilmat Puran, economic history is Loka Prakasha. Now this Loka Prakasha was used so much between 11th and 15th century.
By sultans.
Many people added many things to it as the time passed.
Interpolation.
And incidentally, in the 15th century, who also contributed some folios of his own time during the Muslim period, also carried the name Loka Prakash. So in a way, there have been two Loka Prakashas, two Shemendar, sorry, his name was Shemendar. So Shemendar, because if it's an 11th century work, you can't find pages of it which belong to the Muslim era. Because Loka Prakasha manuscript, which we today have, has many editions detailing out the economic history of the Muslim times, Muslim period. Now, so this person who added these portions, incidentally, according to Jagadhar Zadu, also was named Shemendar. So the paradox irony here is that we might have had two Shemendars treating the same manuscript.
There is another joke in lighter vein I would not like to tell. Just a few years before, I was a theatre critic. I was the first theatre critic in Jammu. I used to write a lot. But then one play happened. I would not name one of the station director. He was on my show as well. So one actor died. His name was Shemendra. And a huge kind of political, socio-political, cultural kind of because all bigwigs were there. They were connected with him. Relation.
Shemendra Raina?
Huh?
Shemendra Raina?
Shemendra Raina. So what happened? So I was a theatre critic and I was to poetry and other things. So what I did, and I made a great joke that day. The entire event was he was stretched because I also knew Shemendra. He was stretched beyond his recognition. मतलब वो उसको काफी ना exaggeration kind of a thing had happened. So what I said that now this event will definitely go into the annals of history, and tomorrow when the times change, time space goes on, and some another time space they will find
original Shemendra may be lost.
And this
Shemendra may survive.
I never knew the second Shemendra is in between. That was in the period of Sultan period. So that is how it happens in the history.
You see, history is always dependent on sources.
Primary,
If your
secondary,
sources are primary and authentic, you will write good history. Otherwise, you will write bad history.
bad history.
Secondary and tertiary history, sources are the greatest risks in writing history.
History.
Because
Very
there are a
right.
lot of interpolations, there are a lot of hearsays, there are a lot of
Perspectives and
distortions,
hearsays and additions.
which then become the references. So that's the irony of history. One has to go as much he can go to the primary sources.
Yes, that's true. Primary source, I mean, it
So
needs
in a way, I'll sum it up by saying three gems: Rajtarangni, Atharvaved,
Atharvaveda,
and Lok Prakash, and Gilgit manuscripts.
Gilgit
They
manuscript.
stand out as the most lustrous manuscripts in all the corpus of manuscripts that belong to Kashmir.
That's the one.
And we should
Yes.
never ever believe that, as people claim, there were lakhs of and thousands of manuscripts. There were no more than 700-800 to 1,000 titles, and there might have been few thousand copies. Today, what mostly survives in the community's collection is ritual manuscripts in the form of copies.
Oh,
No one has an original manuscript which has a value of history or any other subject, astronomy, astrology, poetry, whatever you may talk. All we have today, when we say, I have a manuscript, it's a ritual manuscript. Prayer books, ritual
book.
manuscripts, not something substantial. The
Substantial.
substantial quantum of it has already dispersed to the Western world. A little part of it, of significant importance, survives in Deccan College and Bori, Pune.
And
Bhandarkar Oriental Research.
Bhandarkar Oriental Societies.
They have, and some stray manuscripts, maybe copies, might be in National Museum or National Archives, except for the Gilgit manuscript.
That's so wonderful.
They are copies, they are not original manuscripts. All manuscripts have been dealt by Westerners in their own ways.
Oh, that's so wonderful. So they are kind of, we have become caricatures in our own originalities. Huh? So
you can display the folios of these manuscripts, which I showed you. There is
yes, I'll display, and we pay a tribute also to these the scholars, and we'll just have a photo run. I just want to play a bit of music. I don't know.
Yeah, it's always lovely to hear soft music.
You can speak in between, yes. Light music.
This is copy of the Rajtarangni manuscript prepared by Govind KOUL, now lying in Oxford University. It was displayed in their 400-year celebration. This copy, this folio of the Oxford University, written in hand of Govind KOUL, and it's one of the collations which he prepared for Stein before Stein got Codex Archetypus, the original copy.
Wonderful.
This is
Lok
a
Prakash.
folio of the Lok Prakash. Now, probably in the Harvard University.
Harvard.
Because Harvard Oriental series has put it in their volume. So obviously they must be possessing. This is paper manuscript folio of Gilgit manuscripts. And this is you have put it reverse anyway. This is the birch bark manuscript of the Atharvaveda of the Pipelar Shak, now in Tübingen University archives. And this picture is taken from the CD-ROM of IGNC. At one time, KECS Pamposh reproduced on their newsletter. It's a picture from there.
Oh, I see. I'm sorry I put it upside down.
No, it's
I'm sorry.
It's put. It's okay. This is You only informed me this is Julius Bloch. I
Yes.
have not seen him in this portrait. The man who handled this. These are the modern printed versions of Gilgit Manuscripts, Volume 1, 2, 3. I think published by, most likely by Gulshan Books, Srinagar. This is the great master, unparalleled mythologist. No amount of salutes would be sufficient to acknowledge what he did to Indian heritage. This man, during his Indian career, collected as many as 14,000 manuscripts from several parts of India.
Great.
There would have been no history of Jainism as an independent religion but for Buller. Otherwise, Jainism was seen as offshoot of Buddhism. The man who gave it an independent recognition was George Buller. So Jains must be obliged to this man, not only Kashmiris.
Yes, I actually, anyway, at the end, if you remind me, I'll just ask you I wanted to have two sentences from you about Buller and Orlston. I'll ask for Orlston separately.
Yes, you only sent me the picture and made me familiar with it. This is Von Roth, Rudolf von Roth.
Roth, yeah.
Yes, Roth, who handled the Atharvaveda. This is the great Czech-German scholar, the master of Mahabharata edition, Boris Winternitz, great friend of Rabindranath Tagore, who visited Kashmir and stayed with Stein in his camp at Mohanmarg and collected Kashmiri Mahabharata manuscripts, which today adorn Prague University Library. Boris Winternitz. Incidentally, it's on a lighter side, a humor. Winternitz had 5 wives. He was married 5 times. But did so much of scholarship also. He married 5 times.
I can say he had so much of energy. I mean, despite of doing so much work, he had an energy for 5 marriages.
Having so much to attend to family, he did. This is Loka Prakasha in the Devanagari. This is the great Franklin Edgerton of the Yale University, who edited Sabha Parvan of Mahabharata in 1936 and met the Kashmiri scholars. This is the man who produced for us Nilmat Quran in Roman script from Holland at Leiden University, Koinard Varies. He was student of Jean-Philippe Vogel. Koinard Varies. This is again, I'm sure you must have prepared the Birch Bark manuscript of Atharvaveda. Sorry. This is Loka Prakash, not Atharvaveda. Again from the Harvard collection. This is Loka Prakasha. Of course, these are the modern editions of Kalana, Stein, Rajkaran. This is the anonymous.
And this is your good self, the great man himself.
Anonymous man.
Atharvaveda.
Yes, maybe the Devanagari versions of it. Nalinaksh, that's
Part 3.
Reprint. This is 1921 SP College faculty. From left
and
to
there's
right, if I can recall, that's my grandfather in Ferran and with Durban.
Yes.
Next is Kanjilal. In the black suit is I.K. Sharga. Man in white suit with white diaries, Lawrence McDermott, who was principal after Sharga. This is Mahiniam or Monium. This is General Mehta's father, Professor Mehta. This is B.K. Kichlu. This is B.K. Madan, who I can recognize. I can't recall other names. This is Professor Kanjilal, who gave us the first edition of Nilmat Quran with Jagdar Zadu.
Oh,
Professor Kanjilal. And this is the great Sanskritist Pandit Mukundram Shastri. This photograph is from Vogel's collection in Leiden University. He survives in Leiden, but he doesn't survive in our collections.
That is the...
Of course, that's my grandfather, Pandit Nityanand.
Nityanand Shastri. Aristocratic he looks. Yeah.
This is William E. White Whitney, the man who made an edition of Atharvaveda with Conrock, the first one to make. And it was his edition, which was circulated at that Yale Medical Conference. So he was one of the pioneers of Vedic studies among us, the Western scholars. This is the great Philip Vogel. The man responsible for establishing museums in India, the man initiating and dropping Maharaja Pratap Singh to establish the research, archaeology and museum and library department, though he wished that he will head it, but Pratap Singh preferred J.C.
Chatterjee. Yes.
Yes.
This is Professor Saab, Professor Jagdar Zadu.
This is Professor Jagdar Zadu, the great man who co-translated Don Quixote with my grandfather, and those translations survived for 80 years in Howard Library, Houghton Library, now recently printed in Germany at Marburg University in 2019 and 2024. Fortunately, I had the opportunity offered to me to write a brief introduction to the Kashmiri translation. It's published by Marburg University under Pune Indological Series.
Very recently, there was a function. You were also a part. Somebody asked me also. He rang me up, and he had translated.
It was released at the Spanish Embassy at Institute of Cervantes in New Delhi.
Okay.
That is Kashmiri and Sanskrit translations of Don Quixote, 17th century Spanish classic. Cervantes' classic.
Spanish classic, yes. That is the first translation, Sanskrit. The great one.
In fact, this translation is probably the greatest recognition to Kashmiri language. The world's greatest book has a translation in Kashmiri language.
That's so great.
Kashmiri language, its greatest honor.
This
is the great Harvard Sanskritist of his age, incomparable, Charles Rockwell Landman, with whom Stein corresponded to get Lokapakasha published. And this is the great master. Kashmiris can never forget him, particularly the Kashmiri Pandits, Sir Mark Aurel Stein.
I wanted to have just one line because I could not understand Stein. He appeared a very professional scholar who wanted to rise to the ladders of this professional professional achievements and accomplishments. But besides that, he was a researcher. I could not understand. Could you please define? It's a very typical question I'm asking. Could you please define? Because I have so much reverence for these people, especially Stein.
Stein was the immortal icon in a mortal frame. Immortal icon of scholarship, Western scholarship of 20th century, in a mortal frame.
In a mortal frame. Limiting to a mortal frame.
Had he not had the Sanskrit grounding which he achieved by editing Rajtarani, by collecting manuscripts, and by interacting with Kashmiri Pandits, his world-famous results of his expeditions from Central Asia would have given him no clues, because everything he discovered was written in Sanskrit, irrespective of the scripts, whether it were Kharosthi, whether it was Pali, whether it was Brahmi, whether it was Tibetan, whether it was Sharda.
Korean.
He owes everything to Kashmiri savants and his own will and opportunity to come to India and start from Kashmir. For 11 years, he grounded himself in classical Sanskrit studies. Raj Tarangi became a vehicle which pushed him to the threshold of Central Asian explorations. Hadn't he done that, there would have been no Central Asia, there would have been no Stein. Raj Tarangi made Stein, and Stein discovered Central Asia. But people behind him to attain those heights were the ordinary unsung Kashmiri savants of Sanskrit.
Great struggle.
And Stein lost no opportunity and has put every line in record praising Kashmiri Pandit scholarship in Sanskrit. Buller has left no opportunity to praise each one by name.
I heard that.
I have a book of mine. I'll read you the names Buller met when he searched their libraries.
Yes, you can, please.
I'll just read those names. One second. The libraries were owned by Pandit Dayaram, Pandit Keshav, Pandit Suraj Khat, Pita Sahib, Ramukol Sahib, Mahanand Chu, Lal Pandit, Kamal Rajdan, Gopal Kuklu, Prakash Beg, Prakash Chand, Mukund Jodshi, Janardhan, Totaram Jodshi, Dayaram Jodshi, Balkat, Hariram Jodshi. There were 22 people, Kashmiri Pandits, who owned the treasure trove of the ancient Kashmiri Sanskrit scholarship.
And he has named them personally.
6 of them personally, including Keshav Ram, because he would not go out to meet anybody. He was an old man.
That's the one.
2 people, 2 persons. This is, of course, some people may criticize him now for Kashmiri dictionary, but everyone uses the same dictionary. The man who wrote Kashmiri dictionary in Sanskrit, in Kashmiri, in Devanagari script, gave English translation and wrote in Persian alphabet also. But still, people criticize him because he used the word term Dardik as the origin of Kashmiri language. And Dardik are Muslim people. So he is bundled out. But linguistically speaking, Dardik is an Indo-Aryan language.
It's an Indo-Aryan. Yes.
Family. But since Dardik professed Islam, he became a villain of Kashmiri dictionary.
That's very ludicrous. Why should people think like that? It doesn't happen in Indonesia. It doesn't happen in Malaysia. Why Kashmiri learned people do that?
It's the preference of script which politicized Kashmiri language. I'll just recall a quote of Grierson only. He said, Persian alphabet is least suited for Kashmiri language because it produces faulty phonetics. Correct? But it's the easiest to write in.
It is easy.
The Hindus, as a rule, use 2 alphabets, the Devanagari and the Sharda. But each one is a law unto himself. No 2 write it alike.
That's
something. Hindus, they won't write the same sentence or a line in the similar fashion of the alphabet. They will do their own trick. And even today, We have so many experts doing this diacritical marks. बिंदी ऊपर बिंदी नीचे, हलात इधर हलात उधर, बोलना नहीं है, लिखना नहीं है, पढ़ना नहीं है, हलात
पढ़ना नहीं,
खाली हलात लगाने हैं. What is wrong with the script that has been used in the dictionary? What is wrong in that script which has been used in the translation of Don Quixote, which is a world celebrated
classic?
अगर वो recognize हुई, what was wrong with that script? And you started devising tens of scripts. Do like this. You are an expert. I am an expert. You will say Bindi should be on the top. I say no, Bindi should be at the bottom. Somebody third comes after 2 years. He says no, it should be on right. The final one, which is extent, he says no, left one is the right. Now it hardly matters if you know the phonetical expression and you know the alphabet. These diacritical marks here or there don't make much difference, except one form, and use it. Standardize.
They say that he did it while sitting somewhere else. I mean, he got it from some
all
Kashmiri.
The samples of Kashmiri, all the samples of 368 languages which Grierson handled in Linguistic Survey of India, including Kashmiri language. The samples were sent from India to his home in Glengarry in Ireland. Your entire Kashmiri dictionary was prepared by the materials sent by people like Mukundaram Shastri, my grandfather, they were the two.
All experts.
He produced 4 volumes, nearly 92,000 words, and all that was, the materials were sent from here, and he compiled the dictionary in Ireland.
Yes.
Then later he shifted to Surrey in his home Rath Farm House, where he compiled all the 4 volumes. There was a time when Grierson started losing eyesight. He wrote to my grandfather, the 4th volume of Kashmir, I am happy that the 4th volume of the Kashmiri dictionary is out. But now my eyesight is failing and I cannot do much reading. However, still, what is written in Kashmiri, I still read it.
Oh, that's something.
That is the tribute this man paid. He says, whatever is written in Kashmiri, I still read it, though my eyesight is failing. Yes. After bringing out the 4th volume, that's my grandfather with his granddaughter, who is not alive now, Raj Duladi. My uncle's daughter, Janakinath Pandita's daughter.
Okay.
This photograph is of, I think, 1936-37.
So, should we call it a day now?
I don't know. Did I justify this conversation, or your viewers will
No,
like it?
It was a great delight, every moment, every second, and
the little I could share, or I knew, I made my best effort
It is wonderful.
to bring a
I think
context of these manuscripts.
it was a very enriching, enlightening. Besides that, it was very engaging and it had freshness. It was really going layer by layer in its composition and circumstances. It is something, I mean, what I can say, it's very unique and very unique conversation in Sheetal's conversation.
You see, now that formally we have closed, look at the empathy Stein had for Kashmiri Pandit scholarship. He saw that Sahaspat was getting mere 12 rupees as copyist.
Yes.
I must engage in him something scholarly which earns him a reasonable honorarium.
That is something.
He is neglected in his own home country, and he did everything. While his interest was, he had moved out from classical studies. He was a man in Central Asia, an explorer, an archaeologist. an excavator, but still he had his heart in Kashmiri scholarship and wanted to do everything for these Kashmiri Pandits and for their work.
That's a great salutation.
He
I
wrote
mean,
to the resident how unfortunate it would be that they would know that he is dying uncared in his home country and is being honored in a foreign country. Do something for him. It will be a shame. These are Stein's words to
my
Resident Woods about Sahaspat.
you defined him very right, an immortal man in mortal frame.
An immortal icon of Western scholarship of 20th century in a mortal frame.
Probably he might have been a Kashmiri in the previous lives.
That I said in one of my previous
Yes, you said in the
interactions with
previous.
you that I have a feeling that he would have been a Kashmiri in his previous birth. Stein is a reincarnation of a Kashmiri Pandit. That's my gut feeling.
Thank you.
No
With
one could-
with
no
a,
one
with a
could do so
salutation
much.
and veneration to such great servant, especially the Google and this Stan. And I
Jugalji,
think we will.
it's not to earn praise. Stein is taught every day in our home.
Really,
And Stein's photograph in my home is besides my grandfather's photograph also.
that's so much.
If
Salutation for all.
I can show it to you.
Yes, yes.
Is it visible?
Yes, it's not exactly. You can just tilt it down, upward. Yeah, upward, a bit more upward. Yes, yes. I can see I'm there. Yeah,
On my right is Stein, on my left is my grandfather.
that's so great. Wonderful, sir. Wonderful. With that great note and memories of those great personalities, I mean, who must be our heroes. They say that a civilization survives because of its heroes, heroes of the past.
I think
And
our home must be the only Kashmiri Pandit home to have a Stein picture on their shelf.
yes, you're very much privileged because you're grandson of the Nityanand, Professor Nityanand
Because of lot
Shastri.
of contact, yes.
Lot of contacts.
A
Thank you very
legacy
much.
home.
You came,
I'm
apna.
grateful to your viewers. I'm grateful to you for the opportunity. You have been partisan in repeating me to appear on your show.
No. I mean,
And
it was.
as a
It was.
result, more eminent people must have cursed me.
I think.
You deserved it more than I deserved it. To be
No,
on
no,
your
I don't
show
think
this
so.
morning.
But I feel practically this is a great addition to the Shidanath conversations, and certainly I'm here just for the purpose of I've conducted this whole series for the
You have
purpose
done
of.
a remarkable work for posterity, and I know this is going to survive because it's digital. Time
Yes,
will
thank
not efface it.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. With good luck to you,
Thank you so much.
and Happy
And
New Year.
namaskar to
Happy
everyone.
New Year. Have a wonderful 2025. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Namaskar.
I'm
Namaskar.
enriched. We are enriched and we are enlightened. Thank you.
Together, if we take a small step, it's a reward.
Thanks a lot.
Without
Thank you.
you, this would not have happened. I would not
Yes.
have got the opportunity. So everything happens in collaboration. If you have to go far, you must go together. If you have to go to some distance, walk alone.
Walk alone. That's another wisdom you are adding to my letter. Thanks a lot. Pleasure.
Namaskar.
Pleasure.
Namaskar.
Good luck.
Thank
Best
you so
wishes.
much.
Happy New Year. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Same to you. Same to your all viewers.
Thanks a lot. So, that was Professor Dr. Surendranath Pandita. And, I have told you it would be a very great and engaging and unparalleled session. Every bit of it was engaging. He was so enriching and so web up the entire process of research of these manuscripts, which are rare and which make us proud as a Kashmiri. And when I talk about Kashmiris or all Kashmiris, irrespective of caste, creed, color, religion, because it is not our combined, it is the heritage of every Kashmiri. So I think the personalities and scholars like Surendranath Pandita are very rare, and it gives me a great heart. I felt that today I have contributed something wonderful to this the whole the series of Sheetalnath conversations. So I'm really delighted, and I feel very happy, and I think you must have all enjoyed this whole session, and I wanted to just depart before I wanted to just give you a bit of what you call it, poetry. Another poem from this Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji. Sorry, I'm searching for these lines. I don't remember it now. It was once upon a time I used to remember it very well. So again, I'm just putting it here, and I'm just reciting for you. Happy New Year to everyone, and being part of this great show with such a great scholar, such an engaging scholar. And Vajpayee's lines, with the Vajpayee's lines, I would like to depart, and that is, Ek baras beet gaya. जुलसाता जेठ मास शरद चांदनी उदास, जुलसाता जेठ मास शरद चांदनी उदास, सिसकी बरते सावन का अंतर्गत रीत गया, एक बरस बीत गया। सींकचू में सिमट जग, सींकचू में सिमटा जग, किंतु विकल प्राण विहग, सींकचू में सिमटा जग, किंतु विकल प्राण विहग, धरती से अंबर तक गूंज मुक्ति गीत गया, एक बरस बीत गया। पथ निहारते नयन, पथ निहारते नयन, गिनते दिन पल छिन, लौट कभी आएगा मन का जो मीत गया, एक बरस बीत गया। Thank you very much. Good night. Shaba Khair. Jai Hind. And Happy New Year to everyone. Thanks a lot. It was a great pleasure to be with you. And this year was very, very, very effective in and very, enriching. And we got many wonderful conversations. And I think the last conversation of this entire year is something which we really cherish, and which will remain in the archives for the seekers, for the researchers, to make us understand how deep the study of research actually is, and how great our legacy, our heritage is. Thank you very much. I'm ending this recording here. Good night.